In 2019, Jeff Bezos had a smile that looked real. Today, experts say that smile is gone. At the $76 million Venice wedding, the world saw the richest man alive, but was he truly happy or just performing? One side, Lauren Sánchez, radiant and glowing in the spotlight. The other, MacKenzie Scott, quietly giving away billions without asking for fame. The question is, did Bezos trade authenticity for spectacle? And what did it cost him? Tonight, we uncover the untold story behind the world's most expensive wedding. In 2019, Jeff Bezos wore the smile of a man who had conquered the world. By 2024, at his glittering wedding in Venice, that very smile seemed to fade. The world's richest groom looked more burdened than blessed. What happened in those years wasn't just about romance, it was about image, control, and the heavy cost of living life on a stage. Tonight, we step inside the story of Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sánchez, and the silent presence of MacKenzie Scott. Because sometimes the truth doesn't hide in wealth or headlines. Sometimes the truth hides inside a single expression. There's a photograph of Jeff Bezos from 2019 at a high-profile charity gala. In that picture, he isn't just smiling, he is glowing. His eyes glimmer with what experts call genuine happiness, the kind that can't be faked. A smile that doesn't just move lips, but lights up the entire face. Now fast forward to 2024, same gala, same cameras, same perfectly rehearsed pose. But this time, the eyes tell a different story. The glow is gone. The joy feels forced. Something between those years had shifted, a shift not only measured in time, but in the billions spent and the reputation tested. A love story that demanded more than $76 million in spectacle and even more in perception. Jeff Bezos, the man who studied human behavior so deeply that he built Amazon into an empire, had finally become a character in one of humanity's oldest dramas. The timeless trap of romance, the illusion that feels like passion, but runs on performance. A trap that has undone emperors, toppled leaders, and rewritten histories. Bezos, once the strategist of boardrooms, was now playing a role in a stage far more unpredictable, his own heart. And it was here, not in business, that his sharpest instincts seemed to fail him. To understand how Jeff Bezos lost that unshakable smile, we must return to January 9th, 2019. The day he and his wife of 25 years, MacKenzie Scott, announced their separation. The news stunned the world, but hidden beneath that simple statement was a story of loyalty, sacrifice, and reinvention. MacKenzie wasn't just Jeff's partner, she was his co-architect. In 1994, she sat beside him as he sketched out the blueprint for a small online bookstore. She drove cross-country with him to chase a vision that sounded impossible. And when Amazon couldn't afford staff, she packed boxes herself, keeping the dream alive when it was nothing more than a fragile hope. She was more than just a supportive spouse. MacKenzie helped hire Amazon's first employees, reviewed documents, and stood shoulder to shoulder with Jeff as the company grew from a garage experiment into the world's biggest marketplace. Her influence may be invisible to most, but it is etched into Amazon's foundation. And yet, after 25 years of struggle and triumph, their marriage ended not in chaos, but in calm. No ugly court fights, no scandals. The divorce shocked the world for one reason: the numbers. MacKenzie received $38 billion in Amazon stock, the largest divorce settlement in history. What stunned people even more was Jeff's attitude. No resistance, no prolonged legal war, he signed it all away willingly. Why? Because in his mind he had found something priceless, something he believed was worth more than billions: his new love, Lauren Sánchez. Lauren entered Jeff's life like a storm. A former TV anchor, helicopter pilot, and woman known for her bold, magnetic personality. In the beginning, she seemed almost unreal. She refused expensive gifts, insisted on splitting dinner checks at high-end restaurants, and carried herself as someone who wanted Jeff, not his empire. For a man who had lived decades surrounded by people dazzled by his fortune, this felt like a miracle. It was refreshing, disarming, and it swept him off his feet. The photos from those early months painted the picture better than any headline. Jeff and Lauren glowing at the Vanity Fair Oscar party. Carefree walks on Caribbean beaches. Easy laughter at candlelit dinners. His posture loose, his expression unguarded. Psychologists call this the Duchenne smile, the rare smile that radiates from deep inside. And for a while it seemed genuine. The media fed the narrative with headlines like, "Jeff Bezos happier than ever. The richest man alive has found true love." The ultimate power couple is here. But smiles built on illusions have a short lifespan. And soon, reality started rewriting the story. Slowly, Almost quietly, the perfect image began to crack. The Lauren who once brushed off gifts started embracing them. Industry insiders in cosmetic surgery noted she had gone through a series of procedures, estimated to cost between $500,000 and $2 million. The timing of these changes lined up perfectly with her deepening bond with Jeff. Many assumed Bezos was footing the bill. To him, it may have seemed like generosity. To psychologists, it looked like something else entirely, the boiled frog effect. Small requests that feel harmless at first, but over time, add up to a transformation too large to ignore. And while Lauren's appearance evolved, Jeff's understanding of their relationship began to shift as well. The independent woman who once insisted on equality slowly leaned into the role of the partner of the world's richest man. The balance of their dynamic tilted. And with that tilt, Jeff's once genuine smiles started looking more like practiced expressions. But the change wouldn't be undeniable until one subject rose to the surface: marriage. For Jeff, weddings had always meant intimacy. With MacKenzie, their milestones were marked by quiet dinners, close family, and privacy. That was his nature. But Lauren envisioned something else entirely. She wanted grandeur, a wedding not just for loved ones, but for the world to witness. A 3-day festival in Venice. A global media stage. A coronation of sorts, transforming her image from TV host to billionaire's wife. And here, the clash between Jeff's instinct for privacy and Lauren's hunger for spectacle became impossible to ignore. He hesitated. She demanded. The tension grew. Insiders say when Jeff pushed for something modest, Lauren saw it as rejection. To her, only a lavish public display could confirm his devotion. And so once again, the balance shifted. The result was one of the costliest weddings of the modern era. June 2025. Venice. A $76 million extravaganza. 200 guests, including Leonardo DiCaprio, Oprah Winfrey, Kim Kardashian, and Bill Gates. But most of these names weren't Jeff's circle. They belonged to Lauren's orbit of Hollywood and spectacle. For 3 days, Venice was turned into a stage set. Residents protested as streets closed for security. Water taxis halted in peak tourist season. The city became scenery for a performance of love. And Jeff signed the checks. Lauren dazzled in 27 designer looks. Her main wedding gown alone carried a $500,000 price tag, while her wardrobe overall exceeded $2 million. A dedicated media team captured each angle, every curated glance, and broadcasted it to the world. This was not intimacy. It was content. A performance of love costing $76 million. For Jeff Bezos, a man once known for thrift, discipline, and long-term vision, the contrast was jarring. Amazon's workforce was still recovering from brutal cuts. 18,000 jobs had been eliminated in 2022 and 2023. And now, just 2 years later, their founder spent a fortune on a party. Anonymous employee forums erupted. The math doesn't add up. We cut jobs to save money while he spends millions on a wedding. The outrage was impossible to ignore. In response, Bezos donated several million to Venice's cultural causes. But the damage was done. The image of the careful builder of Amazon was now blurred by indulgence. And the photographs told the deeper story. Jeff smiled on command, but the sparkle had drained from his eyes. What once was the Duchenne smile, the authentic spark of joy had been replaced by the social smile. A practiced grin without soul, a performance of happiness. And here the psychology became clear. Dr. Paul Ekman, pioneer in facial expression science, explains that true happiness activates involuntary muscles around the eyes, the orbicularis ocule, that cannot be faked. In Bezos' 2019 photos, those muscles glowed with authenticity. By 2023 and 2024, they did not. The evidence is undeniable. The joy was gone. What remained was emotional labor, the exhaustion of portraying feelings that no longer lived within him. Why would the world's richest man surrender so much of himself to a performance? Why trade his values for a spectacle? The answer lies in the mirror of his two great loves. On one side, MacKenzie Scott, private, understated, quietly philanthropic. On the other, Lauren Sánchez, flashy, public, drawn to the spotlight. Two women, two worlds, two choices. And in that contrast, the story of Jeff Bezos' vanished smile comes into focus. The contrast between the two women reveals the paradox behind Jeff's missing smile. While Bezos poured $76 million into a Venetian spectacle, MacKenzie was quietly giving away billions. By 2024, her donations had surpassed $19 billion, supporting grassroots organizations and marginalized communities. Many of her gifts were anonymous, with no press release, no red carpet. Her message was not spoken, it was lived. And to those watching closely, her actions spoke louder than Jeff's carefully staged celebrations. They revealed the truth she had discovered long before anyone else. The truth that made her walk away. Jeff had traded stability for spectacle, and in that exchange, he lost something more precious than wealth, the authenticity of his joy. His transformation was written not in headlines, but in his posture, his photographs, the fading spark in his smile. And so ends part 1. We've traced the journey from 2019 to the wedding of 2025. We've seen how a billionaire's radiant grin turned into the strained smile of compromise. In part 2, we will go deeper analyzing the body language shifts, the unraveling of Jeff's public image, and the unspoken messages hidden within MacKenzie Scott's philanthropy. When Jeff finalized his divorce in 2019, the world was stunned not just by the record-breaking $38 billion settlement, but by the speed at which his life pivoted. One moment, he was the reserved visionary of Silicon Valley, the family man. The next, he was arm in arm with Lauren Sánchez, a woman who embodied Hollywood glamour and media energy. Lauren didn't arrive quietly. She exploded into Jeff's world, commanding headlines with her style, her confidence, and her star power. At first, the effect was electric. Jeff looked reborn tanned, leaner, grinning for paparazzi in Malibu. Whispers spread, love has freed the billionaire. For a while, the narrative was that Bezos had finally become human again. But as time passed, the glow dimmed. Smiles that once seemed effortless began to falter. Experts in body language pointed it out relentlessly. His grin no longer touched his eyes. Meanwhile, MacKenzie stepped into a different kind of spotlight. With quiet grace, she reshaped her public image not with yachts or fashion, but with philanthropy. While Jeff and Lauren graced magazines from St. Bart's to Cannes, MacKenzie was channeling her billions into schools, nonprofits, and community work. She didn't need chandeliers or fireworks to prove her reinvention. She simply gave, and with each donation, she redefined herself. The contrast became impossible to ignore. On one side, spectacle. On the other, substance. On one side, indulgence. On the other, impact. As the years passed, the media narrative sharpened. Bezos and Sanchez became symbols of extravagance, while MacKenzie emerged as the saintly ex-wife who chose meaning over money. Still, Jeff clung to his new image. The Venice wedding was supposed to seal the fairy-tale billionaire's love story written in gold and glitter, complete with A-list guests and fireworks. But the photographs betrayed the script. Lauren glowed, radiant in her moment. Jeff smiled, but the strain was visible. His expression seemed heavy, as if the price of the performance was catching up to him in real time. Because love at this altitude is never just love. It's politics. It's optics. It's the perception of an empire. Jeff Bezos is not just a man, he is a brand, a symbol, a power structure. And when empires bend under the weight of illusion, the world watches. In that silence, MacKenzie's refusal to engage in gossip became deafening. Every time Jeff and Lauren lit up the tabloids, MacKenzie gave away another billion. Not revenge, not competition, contrast. And contrast, in the end, can be devastating. So here we are left with a question. Did Jeff Bezos trade authenticity for performance? And if so, was the cost measured in money or in the quiet loss of a smile that once lit up the world? Did Jeff give up the quiet, steady happiness of family life for the staged glamour of a Hollywood fantasy? Or was this always the real Bezos restrained for years, finally unleashed by someone who encouraged him to live loudly? The truth, perhaps, is written not in headlines, but in his smile, and in how that smile has faded. The Venice wedding was supposed to be his crowning moment. A billionaire's fairy tale played out in the world's most romantic city. Guests arrived by gondola, chandeliers cast reflections across the canals, and paparazzi claimed every vantage point. Lauren Sánchez shimmered in a gown that caught every flashbulb, her diamonds glowing as though designed for this single night. But beneath the glamour, something else demanded attention. The photographs revealed it the longer you looked. Jeff smiled, but it was the kind of smile that felt rehearsed. Too precise. Too polished. A smile that belonged to a man conscious that the world was dissecting every movement of his face. Body language experts later noted the same thing. Shoulders pulled inward, posture rigid, eyes that failed to echo the curve of his lips. Lauren, in contrast, radiated ease. Her grin wide, unforced, brimming with confidence. She wasn't just marrying Jeff. She was stepping into a role. This was her moment, her stage, her final transformation from anchor to pilot to one of the most visible women in the billionaire class. For her, the journey was complete. For him, the performance was only beginning. The public saw the contrast instantly. Social media lit up with side-by-side comparisons. Lauren glowing, Jeff stiff. Commentators joked that the richest groom in the world looked like the least happy man in Venice. Headlines turned sly, Bezos over the moon or under pressure. And then the deeper questions emerged. Did Jeff really want this grand spectacle, or was it staged for her? Was this his vision of love, or was he caught in a role he didn't fully choose? The chandeliers, the fireworks, the diamond-draped photo ops, did they represent joy or obligation? And then came the irony. MacKenzie Scott, the quiet partner who had once stood beside him at company galas, was nowhere in sight. She didn't need gondolas or fireworks to announce her new chapter. She had remarried a teacher, built a quieter life, and continued giving away billions with barely a headline. For every diamond necklace Lauren wore, MacKenzie wrote another donation check. For every glossy magazine spread, another nonprofit was fully funded. One woman embraced spectacle. The other embraced substance. And so, the Venice wedding became something more than a celebration. It became a mirror reflecting the tension between wealth and authenticity, between performance and truth. The richest man alive had never appeared more polished, and yet never seemed so uneasy. The evidence was etched in his expressions. A smile that lingered a beat too long, a handhold that looked more staged than spontaneous. The world noticed. Experts confirmed it. And suddenly, what was meant to be a fairy tale began to resemble a stage play with Jeff Bezos playing a part that didn't quite fit him. By the morning after the wedding, headlines raced across the globe. At first, the familiar words dominated: glamour, extravagance, romance. But beneath the praise, the question was already rising: had the most powerful man in business become a supporting actor in his own story? Within just a few days, the glittering Venice wedding that should have been remembered as a billionaire's fairy tale began unraveling under the harsh light of public opinion. What was meant to be a love story became fuel for memes, satire, and late-night jokes. The photographs told the story better than words ever could. Lauren Sánchez appeared radiant, her smile wide, her gestures natural, her presence magnetic, the energy of someone who had finally claimed the stage she always dreamed of. Jeff Bezos, in contrast, looked rigid, his posture locked, his grin strangely hollow. The internet noticed instantly. Social platforms flooded with side-by-side comparisons, Jeff's carefree smile from 2019 versus the tense expression he wore in Venice. One viral caption summed it up: richest man in the world. Saddest groom in the room. Soon the mainstream press joined the chorus. The same outlets that once glorified Jeff's golden tan yacht trips now highlighted the brutal contrast between his spectacle and his ex-wife's quiet power. Editorials pointed to timing. As Bezos threw a wedding straight out of a Hollywood script, MacKenzie Scott quietly funneled yet another $1 billion into schools and grassroots charities. Then came the analysts, the body language experts. On television screens, they dissected every frame, noting his tight shoulders, the forced curve of his lips, the absence of shared laughter. To trained eyes, Bezos looked less like a groom in love and more like an actor on stage. Lauren, meanwhile, seemed effortless, leaning into him with sparkle and certainty, embracing the spotlight as though it had always belonged to her. But the backlash went deeper than appearances. It wasn't just about two people at a wedding, it became a symbol. To ordinary viewers struggling with inflation, layoffs, and rising rent, the richest man alive celebrating amid gondolas and fireworks felt like a slap in the face. Bezos, once respected for his quiet brilliance and discipline, was now mocked as a caricature of midlife excess. Memes labeled him the hostage groom. Headlines hinted at dissonance, and every mention of MacKenzie's philanthropy sharpened the contrast. She had chosen meaning, he had chosen performance. And through all the noise, Bezos remained silent. No interviews, no rebuttals, no explanations, just photos left to circulate on their own. But sometimes silence doesn't protect you. Sometimes silence is the loudest answer of all.